Um, Hi everyone, hope you're all well. Thanks for listening to our podcast. This seminar will be about exploring pedagogical and cultural differences for new postgraduate international students at UCID, abbreviating it EPCD. So specifically our seminar will be about moving forward. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us anytime. Okay, so we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and which the University of Sydney campus stands on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We would like to pay our respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. So our aims and objectives are to support new postgraduate students in their transition to university through a series of podcasts and seminars about university services, degrees, and global learning styles in comparison to Australia's. We'd like to help new international students feel connected, supported, and appraised. So just a really quick introduction again, for those who don't know, we are a group of four. Helen, Nick, Vivian, and I, we're all from the Masters of Education. So a brief overview of today, we're going to discuss about advancing careers, specifically cultural differences, academic system difference, remote study advice, and we will firstly discuss cultural differences. And that's on to you, Vivi.
So if you are international students who are joining Sydney Uni this semester remotely, you might be very confused, like why did you see acknowledgement of country when you attend lectures, tutorials, or even orientations? So yeah, acknowledgement of country is an opportunity for anyone to show respect to the traditional owners and the continuing connection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to the country. It can be given by both non-Indigenous peoples and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the Indigenous people of Australia. They are not one group, but rather comprise hundreds of groups that have their own distinct set of language, histories, and cultural traditions. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are the first inhabitants of Australia. They have lived on this land long before James Cook, the captain of HMB Endeavour, claimed the eastern portion of the Australian continent for the British Crown in 1970, naming it New South Wales. And the next point I will be talking about is food and diet. When you come to Australia, you'll be able to try different authentic cuisines because Australia is such a multicultural country. Many people are coming from different backgrounds, and there are many delicious and yummy food here in Sydney, including Japanese food, Korean food, Malaysian food, Mexican food, etc. It is amazing to be exploring different cuisines without having to travel around the world. And despite the diversity of cuisines, we need to be aware of the dietary preferences of people around us. Some people might have their own dietary preferences due to their beliefs, religion, or health condition. And some people might be vegan or vegetarian. And some people might only eat halal food, and others might not eat pork or beef. So we should be mindful and respect other people's dietary preferences, just like how we respect their unique background. And in addition to dietary preferences, food allergy is also another thing that we need to be mindful. It is more common to see people who have severe allergies here in Australia. There are some people who would have anaphylactic reactions when they eat certain food that they might be allergic to. So therefore, when going to a party or hosting a party here in Australia, you might need to be mindful about allergies and dietary preferences. And yeah, we'll pass it back to Phoebe.
Yes, another cultural difference aspect is the etiquette. So for example, greetings. So in Australia, when we greet, we may say, how are you going? Or how are you? But in China, if you literally translate it, usually they would ask, have you eaten? And so on. So another thing is handshaking, maybe kissing on the cheek. And obviously, maybe not now in COVID, but in the past, yes, that definitely is how we greet in Australia. And another aspect is multicultural background. So in Australia, again, we're very multicultural. Everyone is different in their own ways. And we come from many different cultures. And especially our beliefs, their beliefs and opinions differ as well. So moving on, we're going to talk about academic system differences, and now we're going to pass it on to Nick and Helen. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll first talk about the difference between teacher and student relationship in different country. So I feel like the relationship is pretty different among different cultures. So for example, take China as an example. In my bachelor year, I feel like there is more of a hierarchical layout in the relationship between teacher and student in China. So in most cases, I think teachers are regarded as the authority. So students are not that welcome to question in the class or on the course content, especially. But it actually depends now, I think. For some younger professors in China now, they are more approachable and they also love to hear from students' views and encourage them to criticize in the content in the class. But it's pretty different in Western country. I think teachers are really encouraging students to criticize critically, like questioning on course content, and especially when you are doing your master degree. I think you may experience in recent units. I think I remember a professor said when he teaches us the theories in education, he said that no one theory has strongly hold on truth. So that is, he really encouraged the students to like critically evaluate every theory he teach and also the question he pointed out. Anything to add on?
I think that's a great point to that there are a little bit more friendliness when it comes to Western professors, and they're a little more open when it comes to discussing about theories and concepts. But I think that's also a great segue to our recap of last seminar, where like we're talking about the professionalism when it comes to emailing your professors.
Yeah.
So yeah. Go for it, Helen.
Yeah, if you came to our last seminar or you listened to our last broadcast, you remember that we spent a lot of time talking about the kind of emailing rules. I think there is also a culture difference in emailing and also like the work-life balance, because I think in China, the work and personal life is not pretty distinct. So it's like you can even have your professor's WeChat account. Yeah, well, this is how I usually contact my professor in China. I just directly sending him some message or directly question him on WeChat. But that is not usually the case in Western country, I think. In Western country, the professors, like they separate their work and their like professional work and their personal life very distinct. So I think it's always important to keep the working relationship professional and very distinct from life. So always be polite when you are emailing or you ask them some questions related to learning or academic.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think Vivian, you have a question.
Yeah, I'm just wondering your guide on your views on like, I guess, what do you think of? Wait, let me say this again. I just have a question about like what your guys' opinion on emailing professors, I guess, on the weekends or like in the nighttime. Because sometimes I do it in the nighttime, not because I want them to reply me straight away, but because it's the time that I guess I focus on studying, because during the daytime I might be doing other stuff. So nighttime is like the only time that I have to sit down and to think about things and then to email them. Like I didn't do it because I want them to reply. And then sometimes on the weekend, I guess, yeah, I don't know if it's appropriate to be emailing professors on the weekend. What do you guys think?
I'll go first and then we'll see what everyone else thinks. In my point of view, I personally don't really care. But the thing is, it's also probably because we have a little bit of a time difference here. Like if I send an email at 9, it'd be 11 in Sydney anyway. So and I'm not going to wake up at 6 in the morning just to send an email so that it'll reach them at 8. I don't think I'm not going to go that far just to accommodate for my professors. And I think that leads to my second point, where that's the reason why I think a lot of professors prefer you to use email instead of social media, because emails, they probably might not be affected by the notification. They might even get it until they check their emails. And so they wouldn't really care, for lack of a better word, until they maybe check in and be like, oh, I've got maybe 50 emails. I have like maybe an hour to go through it and then reply all of them, and then goes back to whatever he or she is going to be doing. So that's my takeaway. I don't think you should be anxious about sending an email just because it's the weekend or just because it's really late, because I'm sure tons of other students like catch them at like midnights or early in the mornings or when they're at dinner and stuff like that anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with Nick's point, especially like when you're studying remotely of the time difference. Yeah, and I think studying Australia is actually, the time difference is not that large. But imagine if you are in China, but you're studying in the USA, you don't want to wake up like in the midnight to trying to send email to professors. Yeah.
But the thing is, I noticed that on Outlook or on Gmail, you can actually set a timer and the emails can be sent automatically, but I have never used that.
Oh yes, I heard this kind of function, but I didn't use that. Yeah.
I have tried that before, but that was just for work. Basically, you just have to set a time and date to send it out, and it just sends out automatically. But yeah, I agree with like both Nick and Helen about it. And on top of that, basically, I also send it whenever I feel like I need to. It's not to say that the professors need to reply immediately, as Vivian, you said, but they can actually also respond at any time they want, when they think they need to. So yeah, don't ever hesitate to email them at late at night or on the weekends. I don't think there's a problem with that at all.
I think aside from that is not only the fact that when you're going to send it, it's also maybe like as we said last seminar, to keep your expectations relatively low, because yeah, if your email is going to reach them at 12 in the morning, they're not going to reply to you that morning, okay, or the next day, because they probably might not have, or they have a specific time to check their emails anyways, and that might be on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So at that point, they might reach it back to you in like a week, if not more. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is pretty a kind of culture difference, because I usually email my professor, he's in China. So I usually like email or send direct message to him in the midnight, and he will reply me very soon. Yeah, so this is a kind of, I think, culture difference or working style. Yeah.
I guess also like if it's a really urgent email that you really need them to reply immediately or soon, just plan in advance. I would say don't email like too last minute or too late. I would sort of like plan out when I should email it, when's the best time I could. And you sort of have to expect the outcomes, expect that maybe they'll reply a bit late, and but yeah, I think that's okay.
Having said that, one of my tutor actually replied my email today. I sent my email at 2:30 Sydney time, and she replied about 4:30. So yeah, some professors did reply on the weekend.
Yeah,
exactly.
Personal choice,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think you don't have to be at all worried about it, like, because it's not like you're sending them a direct message, like on their or texting them and hounding them like, oh, pay up your loans. No, it's not like that, right? It's just a little email for questions. And I think if you have attended in our seminar this past week, was that Remy said that they're paid to basically answer your questions. It's just about when they're going to answer it that you have to keep in mind, not when you're supposed to send it. Yeah, because you shouldn't be stalking yourself. Sorry.
Yeah. So it is nothing that you can really control, like when they respond. So you can, don't stress too much about it. Just if they reply, they reply. That's all you can do. Yeah, so anything else to add on to it before we move on? I think that would lead to the next point, which is the type of assignments and assessment guidelines. So I think that's Nick, or
yeah, that's me. So hopefully all of you have already studied your bachelor's, and most of the assignment types are not going to be too different coming into the University of Sydney. If you're going to be in the education stream, like most of us, they're going to be largely academic essays and presentations, and not so much on the exams. I think both Helen, Phoebe, and I think we've only had probably like only one exam out of our entire program, which is something that you can keep in mind. But when you're working on these essays and presentations, it's probably paramount that you remember to adhere to certain things. Number one, your presentation and organization of your arguments. Number two, the clarification of the points and whether you have answered the task question. And if you're really in doubt of your task question, you can obviously ask your friends, your classmates, but it's always even better to reach out to your professor, which thank you so much, Phoebe, for pointing that out and how important it is to reach out to your professors. Also, to keep in mind that your citations need to be in the correct referencing format, which in this case should be APA 7. And of course, finally, you should have relatively correct grammar. There are a lot of online tools like Grammarly, and I'm pretty sure we have some writing assistants in the University of Sydney. We'll add those into our resource packs as well. But secondly, that comes to our second point, which is this is not something you embark on alone. Most of our courses have mixed assignments of both group and individual work. In other words, whenever you're paired up with someone, even if they're really hardworking, like Helen, or even if they slack off, like people I won't mention, it is still your responsibility to adhere to both the university and your professor's guidelines, which is a great segue to our next point, which is academic honesty and writing. Over to you, Helen.
Yeah, so I found most Chinese students concerned with is academic writing and also honesty, because there is also a really different, I think, compared with China. I think in my first 2 years of bachelor, I did my bachelor in China for the first 2 years. The only thing we need to concern with honesty is just our final dissertation. So it's like usually our homework don't involve in checking for possible plagiarism or kinds of honesty. So I think this is a kind of problem because we do not develop the kind of awareness of what is concerned as plagiarism or dishonesty. But I think they are very key, they are concerned as key points in Western country. So you're getting serious trouble if you do not follow their rule. And also this kind of awareness, I think is very important if you want to do research, because in research, every sentence you said, if it's from other people's view or you copy from other people's work, you have to clarify where you get it and who said it, in which page, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think the most, just as Nick said, the most common citation rule we're using is APA 7. I think that is really worst time to like study it because I think every assignment you have to follow the APA style. It's usually worth about from 10% to 15% marks. And that is really a point you should study and put more effort in.
Yeah, I wanna stress the point that this is not just for University of Sydney. This is for literally all universities across the world at this point. So I think Helen was really nice. She recommended using EndNote, which is a university provided program to help you with your citations and with your readings. But I do want to stress that you should also double check on those citations as well. It is your responsibility, and those are just tools. They might end up missing out some things, maybe the DOI, they might be missing certain formats that maybe you need to double check.
Yeah,
and,
that's
so true. Yeah, definitely always double check it, because I mean, this is your responsibility now, and it's a great practice for you if you plan to do your PhD as well.
Yeah, I think although EndNote is a really great tool of doing referencing and citation, it has some minor problems, and that is related to the website where you download the citation from. So always check that before you submit your article. Yeah,
sure. Always check.
Yeah.
All right. So when we're talking about assignments, we can't run away from marking. I think that's the core reason why we have assignments in the first place. So to kick off, most of your assignments should be given a certain amount of set points with a marking scheme indicating which areas your professor will be evaluating your work. But the overall weighting of your assignments is not going to be the same for each unit, because some of them might have 3 assignments, some maybe 4, some maybe 2. So you will be responsible of double checking how many assignments, how much it is weighted before you run straight into it and working on it. On a universal scale, as we have shown here, thank you, Helen, Australia and many other Western countries use different ways to assess their grades. Thankfully, most of them follow a numerical or percentage scale followed by their own systems. So you can definitely use the screenshot over here, or you can refer to our resource packs for more information. I do want to stress that when you're applying for another master's, a PhD, or whatever, to double check the institution that you are applying to and their grading system, because just because these are general guidelines, they might not follow them. They might have their own ways of grading their students. So maybe your distinction might not be a distinction on their end. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's true. I think actually every university even in the same country, they have pretty different rating scales. For example, I did my bachelor in Australian National University, and it's pretty different from Sydney, actually. The HD is ranging from 80% to 100%, rather than in Sydney, we have to get like 85. But of course, ANU has a very strict marking, so it's very hard to get like 80%.
Yeah.
And also, I think this is another very different culture difference compared China to Australia, because I think in China, getting 80% is very common, I think, in university. And 80% is not actually a good grade if you're not from a very prestigious university. Yeah, right. Like Tsinghua or you know. But in Australia, it's very different. I think getting above 80% in University of Sydney is a really proudful thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't be panicked if you just get like 70 in your assignment. You're actually doing a really good job. And if you get 85 or even higher, you should really be proud of yourself, because that that really indicate that you are really excellent. You did really excellent job in that assignment.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because like in Canada, so UBC, big university in Canada, I think 80, we don't even follow this general referencing. 80 for us was already an A, and for our department, which was the Department of Psychology, our average was a 65. And that was with like over a board of basically around 7,000, if not more, students. And that's just how it is. People who come from, like, it's also important to remember that different departments might also have different grading systems and different weightings as well. So you might want to keep in mind when you start applying for other universities, and to also keep in mind for what you have. Okay, so we have our University of Sydney one right here as well, which we'll provide you the link for. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. So it's like when you're applying for university, if you don't know how to transfer your grade point average into their grading scale, you can just directly, I think, send a message to the admission office, which is I usually do, because and I think I applied some Canadian universities for my master degree, and I just directly emailed them, just asking what grade point average, like what scale you're using. Yeah, you'll get the answer from them.
Yeah, they're not very fast when it comes to replying you. But if you go onto their website and then maybe they don't have a grading system for you, which would be kind of weird, or you're just not sure what your grade is, then by all means always ask, which goes nicely to our next point, which is unit workload.
How can I? Oh, okay. You have cleared the annotation. Right. So Nick, is unit workload your part first?
Oh, sure. I'll talk about it. Yeah. Although I think it's a joint thing. I think that both Helen and I, because we come from very different places. I come from Hong Kong and then Canada, and then now University of Sydney. Helen's from China, went to Australia, and she's been in another university in Australia as well. The workload units are a little different. I'm not sure how it's like in other places, but in Canada, we have 5 units or courses, as we call it, in every semester, whereas in the University of Sydney, it is 4. Don't be alarmed when you come to University of Sydney and thinking like, oh no, there's only 4 units per semester. What's going on? It's not like that. It is actually much more intensive. You get more assignments, your workload is actually quite much harder. Same goes for when you're progressing from a undergrad to a postgraduate. It really is a big leap, which actually leads nicely to the point where if you're working, for example, which if you were in our seminar on Thursday, you'd realize that even our professors, when they're doing their PhD, their masters, they probably were working as well. And it is really about striking that balance between your work life, your personal life, and your academic life. If you're unable to handle a certain amount of workload from school, then you either have to sacrifice some time from other places in order to make time for it, or you have to lower your unit workload here in the University of Sydney, which can sound kind of discouraging, but even our professors took some time till they are where they are. So do not feel discouraged at all.
Yes, I totally agree. And to talk about workload, I think it's very different compare China with Australia, because in Chinese university, we usually have, I think, above 10 subjects every semester. But of course, it's less intense. I don't think we have too many homeworks, like doing writings or presentation. We only have kind of the final exam. So it's not that intense. But in Australia, we only have 4 units, I think, for both bachelor and master degree. But of course, there are more workloads and also involves more assignments, writings, and also exams. So this is very different. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Which I think we can go over a little bit about what we did for our seminar. So we had both Professor Remy Lo and Professor Alicia Bordelaise. And unfortunately, we will not be sharing or uploading our seminar for seminar 2 because number 1, there are some personal information for both of these guest speakers. So we don't feel very good to, infringe on their privacy. And number two, you should actually just, be coming as well. But what we're going to do now is maybe go over a little bit of their advice, just as like a little bit of so that you can understand in case you've missed it because of the class or whatever. So Alicia did actually talk quite extensively about her work and academic experience. We're not going to go over that. Where we will try to share her presentation if she allows us in one of our resource packs. But there are 4 main points that she was talking about. Number 1 is to take the opportunities that you're given. In her lifetime, she took opportunities for presentation, for speeches, for doing review literature, basically anything just that could be of interest or that could help her in both her academics and her career. And that is something that she would recommend to all of you. That's why you're here doing this program. Number 2 is to balance work, study, and personal life. She is a mother of a 2-year-old child. She was doing her PhD while she was getting married. She was doing so much other stuff and working at the same time while doing all of these academic things, which also means basically that you should be taking your time. You shouldn't be rushing into just finishing this master's and it's the next step and the next step, and then sort of not taking responsibility of both yourself, your family, and financially, obviously. So definitely make sure to balance out your life. And as much as it seems like it's a race, it really isn't. So I think that's a really big takeaway for me as well. And number 3 is to change plans halfway. Professor Porteles originally planned to be a psychologist, which her husband is, but then she switched her ideas to doing more academic-based and more research-based stuff. That could be the same for you. After this master's, maybe you plan to maybe do more research-based, or you could choose to do something else. Basically, her point was trying to say that this master's is supposed to help you. It's not supposed to be, oh, I'm doing a finishing master's, now I'm going to do PhD. Like, it's not like that. It's supposed to help you in both your academics, in both your career, and it's supposed to inspire you to become something a little bit more than that. And finally, she talked about doing research for her PhD, which at this point, I'm not going to go on for very long because we are going to have Professor Paul Jins for our next seminar. So he's going to go very largely onto the differences, the hardships of PhD. He's going to talk a lot about research opportunities, about dissertations, about special projects. So if you're really interested, you really want to know the answer to these things, you should probably come to our seminar and not miss out because we're not going to post them anymore. Yep. So that's mostly what Alicia sort of went over. And I think I'm going to pass it on to Vivian and Phoebe for Remy's part.
Yeah, well, I can talk about it. So Remy also pointed out 4 points in his talk, and it's really inspiring. The first point he made is always learn the ways to play the game. So it's like looking at people who have done well and ask them how they did it. So it's like collect many stories that you can learn from. Yeah, and I think this is also very beneficial if you want to like make friends or know others. Yeah, this is a kind of opportunity. And also the second point he said is don't be afraid to ask, because he said lecturers and supervisors are paid to respond to you. So don't feel bad for asking questions if you don't know something. Don't think that you're asking some kind of stupid question. It's never the case. And also don't be shy to ask for help and also to ask for getting an opportunity. For example, like doing a teaching work or research assistant or apply for scholarship. And I think even for us, if we don't ask this opportunity to be involved in a student innovation grant, we won't have it and you won't see our podcast now. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask and also ask for opportunity. And the third point he said is that know where to get help if you need it. And he said there are many types of support available to you from our university, and it depending on what you need. For example, you can get counseling service if you're not feeling well. And we talk about it in our last podcast. And also kind of financial assistance, also academic advice. For example, the workshop from the library or the learning hub. Yeah, so the university has provided you like almost every resource they have. So they are all there, you just need to find them. Yeah, and the fourth point he said is don't be shy to share your own experience because you have already learned a lot of stories from the others. So if you think your story is also can be beneficial to others, don't be shy to share to others. And also, if you want to learn something, for example, like how people in Australia perceive and experience things, but you should also feel free to share from your own experience and perspectives. It's like share your own stories in your own culture. And this kind of sharing will reach your learning experience and for everyone, for you and for others. Yeah. So I think that's.
I just want to stress about like learning the ways of like to know where to find help and to not be afraid to ask. I think because all of us are doing our special projects now, which is the capstone unit for our program, which you should be doing in next semester. But we go through a lot of hardships and we seem very lost when we jump into the special project thing. And it's already 3 weeks in. We don't know what our topics are. Some of us don't even know who our supervisors are. So number one is to know where we're getting this help. So you should be contacting your coordinator. If you know your supervisor, contact your supervisor and that sort of stuff. And look, if you don't reach out and you don't ask, then you're basically losing the chance to know more, to know what you're supposed to be doing, to lose this sort of direction and guidance. So definitely ask. I was very worried about it because I didn't even know what my topic was. I didn't confirm it until I think like last Monday when I talked to Paul and he was like, yeah, it's okay. You can do that topic. It's good. I like it. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. I had 3 other topics in mind.
Yeah, I think there is also a culture difference of asking help. In China, in universities, like the teachers always want to provide you with the information. Even sometimes you don't want that information, they will give it to you. But it's very different in Western country. It's like the opportunity is there, the school give you, but you have to get it yourself rather than school told you that, oh, can you please do this? Can you please do that? No, that never happened in Western country. So that is a strong culture difference you should remember.
100% agree. When I was in UBC for my bachelor year, I was like for my bachelor program, I was definitely not independent. And it took me a long time to get to reaching out for this program, to ask and to be friendly with my professors. I'm sure Helen would give you tons of her experience of being a shy, introverted undergrad. And
That's
honestly,
true.
same here as well. But the big takeaway is that you're an adult now. They expect you to be acting like an adult. They expect you to be responsible for yourself and to be independent. So you will have to take the charge. You can't just think that, oh, people are going to start handing and spoon feeding me all this information. That doesn't work. It's not how the world works either, which is a great callback to Remy. So yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, so that really moved to our point of some remote study advice. The first point, stepping out of your comfort zone. So I'm really the right one to talk about how to stepping out of my comfort zone, because I'm also currently doing this thing, like giving a speech or doing a podcast. This is my first time actually doing a podcast. So if you like saw me in my bachelor, I think you won't even recognize that is me at all. So when I first came to Australia to study, I was just very panicked and nobody tell me these things actually. I figured it out all with many, heartbroken stories. So in my bachelor, I'm just kind of a quiet and not that self-disciplined student. Yeah, and I think I never talked to professors during my bachelor years in Australia. and the most time I spend, I think during my bachelor is in the student accommodation. So I never attend the school activity or engage in any kinds of opportunity. And also I hardly talked in the seminars and workshop. I usually just listen to them quietly. And when the teacher asks question, I would just think, well, can I say that in English? I don't think I'm confident in speaking it out. So I just be quiet. Yeah, that's me in my bachelor. And also I never made any foreign friends. All my friends are Chinese students who are similar with me. They are all very quiet and only play with people from their own group. I think after graduation, I realized that there is a need to change myself. Yeah, because first I think, yeah, well, I'm growing up and I'm doing a master now. And also I kind of realized that my time and opportunity is wasted in my bachelor, because originally I really want to like apply for honors. But in Australia, if you want to do honors, you have to contact potential supervisors. And then I realized that, oh, I don't know any supervisors because I never talk in class. I never contact them. How do I know them? Yeah, so after I came to Sydney Uni, I tried to grab any opportunity, yeah, as much as possible, I think. So I became a research assistant because I want to do research. And also I get contact with potential supervisors for maybe doing a PhD. And I also apply for the grant of this project because I really want to like challenge myself of being involved in these kinds of very valuable opportunity. And I think these are the things I can imagine in the past. So I should really say that it's hard to step out the first step of your comfort zone. I'm very anxious, and also I'm not confident with myself when I first step out of my comfort zone. I tell you, I just cried a lot of times, you don't know. Yeah, but it gets much better after the first step. And also you will go much smoother with your, I think, future. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely 100%. Always step out of your, well, I mean, don't always be very cautious about it, but you should definitely step out of your comfort zone. I remember for same thing with me, my 4 years of bachelor's felt very much wasted just by not stepping out, just by not talking more, just by not participating more, which is our next point actually. I think it's very easy to be like, oh, there'll be a next time. Oh, it's okay. I think I get it. Like, it's very easy to say things like that, or to tell yourself that's gonna be fine and that you don't need to reach out to other people or to participate. But it feels honestly very much like you're losing out and that you're missing a lot if you don't take the chance, even if it's a little bit, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like every time you tell yourself there is a second chance, usually there won't be a second chance because time passed really quick.
Yeah.
For me, I think my bachelor year is just passing that quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also for our master, this is a second semester. Yeah, it's like when you start your first week of study, then you realize, oh my God, it's the fourth week. And then you will find, oh my God, I'm graduating, but I still haven't participated in class.
Yeah.
That is really a sad thing.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's very, I mean, you already, for most of you listening to this, hopefully most of you, you already took the chance to come to the University of Sydney. So you're already one step out of your comfort zone. So don't take it too lightly. You should keep doing that. Which brings nicely to participation and engagement. All right, so I'll kick us off and then I'll let anyone else have any pointers to jump in. So as with stepping out of your comfort zone, always try to participate. I mean, you are a university. It is a time of opportunity, which hopefully is a lesson that's been drilled into you after all of our entire podcast seminar so far. Participating does really help you grow your social circle on one hand, but also to sort of help you with integrating a lot of different ideas. It doesn't have to be always on breakout rooms, although that is recommended. You could do it through discussion boards that your professors might have put up for you in Canvas. It could be simply as reaching out to your professors in their consultation times. This is like really easy. Just you need to participate, to engage, to take initiative, or it would feel like you're missing out a lot. You're not seeing things from other people's perspectives. You're not taking more knowledge into account. So yeah, but I do realize that, this whole unknown thing, oh, I don't know if he's gonna like, criticize me. I don't know if like these people don't like me or not. Like this big unknown is very stressful, but try to, forget about it and just push on and participate.
Yeah, I totally agree with Nick's point. I don't think that people will judge you because, for example, your English is not that good, because I think we're all international students, right, who speak really good English. Yeah, so okay, I know. So yeah, don't be self-criticized, be kind to yourself. And when you are talking, just thinking about the things you talk rather than what other people will think about you. It doesn't matter, okay, who cares? And also, I think participation and engagement, they are pretty strongly related to how you feel with yourself and also with the community, the school, for example, you belong to. I just think it creates a sense of belonging. I think for me, I feel less engaged when I was doing my bachelor. I think because it's my problem. It's not my school's problem. My school is good. I just feel like I'm not belong to the school. Everybody's hardworking, but I'm just not that hardworking. But now I'm thinking when I come to Sydney after all these things, I feel like I'm as part of the University of Sydney community. So I really encourage you to participate and also engage in various activities. You'll benefit a lot from it, really.
Sorry, Phoebe, do you mind if I add on a quick point? I know it's kind of intimidating because I speak fluent English, but honestly speaking, like even if it's like when I was teaching students who speak Mandarin and Cantonese, I still try to speak in a different language. I know I suck at it. I know it's gonna be really weird, but I still take the chance. And secondly, we have our program coordinator is also not a native English speaker. So do not ever feel that, your English is not good enough. Dr. Min Kang Kim is also not a fluent English speaker, or native English speaker, sorry, not, she is relatively fluent. So don't ever feel that, you're scared just because there's a language barrier. It's not going to happen. Even this podcast took several tries. We messed up a couple of times already.
Yeah,
so yeah. All right, sorry, Phoebe.
Yes, just a really quick point. With the participation, it is very, I'd say, a valuable experience for everyone, because you would be able to learn from everyone else, because everyone has different opinions, different perspectives. I think you would definitely gain at least some knowledge from others during this participation. So I really encourage in-class participation, specifically during discussions, in your breakout rooms. Don't be afraid to listen and also give your own opinion. It is supposed to be a respectful space, so everyone must, have like an open mind and a respectful mindset. Yeah. So that leads us, before we, is there anyone else who would like to add anything before we move on?
I think being respectful, we'll jump into that quite later, since it's one of our points here, to be open-minded and respectful.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I'm glad you touched on it. I think we can jump onto being self-disciplined. I think that's probably a good start, since I think that's a big thing about being independent as well. So I am 100% not a disciplined person, especially for undergrad. But it did slowly build up from postgraduate, from working. When you have more responsibilities, it just requires you to follow a certain routine. And I like to think of discipline like going to the gym, or like losing weight, or like dieting. you're going to have to test your waters. You have to see how much you're capable of doing it. There's no shame in only being able to maybe go through 3 readings a day or 2 readings a day or even 1 reading a day. There's no shame in that. Just see how much you can deal with, and then assess how much time you need for your units, how much time you need for work, for personal life, and then use it to plan ahead. Questions like, oh, when are assignments due? When should I have my draft done? Like, how much time should I be allocating to this assignment and this assignment if they're due on the same day? Like, these things should be questions you ask yourself, right? But aside from planning, a big thing is to also stick to it. Once again, it's just like working out, it's like dieting. If you miss out on ones, if you eat that cheeseburger or that chocolate, it's not going to work anymore. It's just going to throw you off balance. It's going to, make you do so much more work, so much more consequences just to pick yourself up again. So yeah. Oh, and finally, have a strong sleep schedule. I don't know about the rest of you, but I need 7 hours of sleep. So you can probably pull 1 or 2 all-nighters for maybe an assignment or something, but always make sure you have a consistent amount of sleep, or at least throughout the week, or else you're just going to start crashing and burning when you go into your assignments in class.
Yep, I totally agree with that. And on top of that, I'd like to say that with the self-discipline, yes, I agree with Nick, and it's really your responsibility. You're responsible for your own learning. If you miss something, it's your job to catch up. And if you don't catch up, then it is what it is. You get the result that you obtained. So definitely also, time management, obviously it's the basic, most important thing. For example, and if you should also know how your study habits are like. So for me, for example, I know that I'm a slow person, so I tend to take my time with my assignments, my drafts, etc. So if I know my assessment is due on some day, I would plan, say, at least, I plan way before, but I would give myself at least 2 weeks beforehand just to try and finish a draft, for example, or an outline. So that's another tip.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty similar with Phoebe. I can't stand that my assignment is, for example, my assignment is due in 3 days and I haven't started writing it. I'll be like crazy. So I always plan my assignments ahead.
Yeah, I don't understand how people can procrastinate, to be honest. I actually would panic a lot. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't finish this in like just 1 day.
Agreed. I know one person who can do
style.
this, which is my cousin, but he's very overachieving. He literally was the type of person who got a job at HSBC, which is one of our biggest banks here.
Wow.
As like, I think a vice director, and he literally was like, you know what, I'm not doing this job anymore. And he quit and he went traveling around the world and stuff. So he's that type of person where he could play games the day before the exam and still get a 90%. And it's like,
that's not possible for most people. So
that's an exception, right? Like,
yeah,
unless
so
you're an overachiever, then you can. Yeah,
exactly. So there are some exceptions, but it's okay to not be that exception. So just plan ahead. I mean, if you take Paul's class from last semester, I think it's EDPE 6013, I think it was. He literally tells you the first the most
important
efficient, yeah, exactly. The important personality is conscientiousness, which means you have to plan ahead. So that's exactly what we need to do. We should always be planning ahead. Exactly. So 100% agree.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Which brings us to always planning ahead, which we have mentioned a bit about it.
Yeah, when you are doing your assignment, do believe to be kind to yourself. Don't fall in too much self-criticism or perfectionism. Yeah, just do your assignment when you are doing your assignment. Don't think about any consequences. For example, is my grandma, can I use a better way? Something like that. Or my grammar is so poor, my English is so poor, and I don't get a good grade. Anything like that. When you are doing your assignment, just do it. Don't think about it.
I think Vivi has really good points on this, right? Vivian, hello.
Plan ahead.
No, being kind to yourself. You're always telling us we should be kind to ourselves, right?
Yeah. Do you have?
But I'm the person that's really critical with myself, and I beat myself up. I think, yeah, I'm. Please don't include this in the podcast. I'm not a good example.
Okay.
I'm also not a good example of plan ahead. But I do have an advice for students if you are struggling with your assignments. So in one of my lecture last week, we talked about writer's block. So it basically means when you start at writing, say if you start at writing an assignment, the best advice to, I guess, deal with the writer's block is to allow yourself to write rubbish. And I think that's really true. Like if you think you're going to have this perfect assignment and this is going to be, I'm going to get high distinction, you're never going to start because you think, for me, sometimes I spend so much time researching for assignment, but I don't actually start writing because I want it to be perfect. But it's just actually impossible to write a perfect assignment. And sometimes you just have to allow yourself to write rubbish. So yeah, this happened to me when I was doing my special project proposal, because the time was really tight and I was really stressed and I wasn't sure about my topic because for TESOL it's a bit different. We have to write a proposal first before we got assigned to a supervisor. And so I was so not sure about my topic and I haven't done that much research. So I was like really stressed and I was panicking. But then I thought about that advice. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself permission to write rubbish. I'm just going to write whatever's in my mind and then I can change after that. And guess what? I finished my proposal that night. And I remember I start sitting down at about 8 p.m. and I was so sad. I was having a mental breakdown until like 11, 12. But then when I allow myself to write rubbish, I actually start writing and it was really, it wasn't really that hard. So yeah, so if you're really struggling with the assignment, I guess the message is to allow yourself to write rubbish.
That's very, very good advice. I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Me too, 100%.
I want to add a point to that. It's actually from my supervisor. He told me that how to write a good research article. That is the thinking he's using is called rapid. Is it iterative?
Rapid, yep. Rapid iterative.
It simply just means first write everything in your head. Don't care about whether it's rubbish or something. Just write it. Write as much as possible. Then start a new script and trying to grab the useful information from your past writing. And to do this like for many times. And finally, you will get a very good draft of the assignment you were doing. I think this is the take home I learned from him.
I don't know if you guys have seen the meme, since I don't know how popular memes are back in China. The thing is, I remember seeing it, and then there's this meme where it's like proposal or project, something. It's like project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4, project 5, project 4B, project 4C, and it's like that's how I do my writings as well. We have like our literature review or like our abstract for our special project. I have like 5 versions of it at this point. And it's only the first week of giving it in. So it's always like that. And I want to double back on Vivian's point about like just writing it in general. I tell my kids this all the time. Like I have a kid who's he's 17. He's starting to get himself into writing short stories and novels like that. I asked him last week to just go for what he has or in his mind. And then he literally wrote out 3,000 words for me. I would be happy to share it. And actually, I don't mind, I guess. I hope he doesn't mind sharing this to you. Let's see. What I can share anything. Oh no. Multiple participants. There we go. Okay. I guess I could share this with him. So this is what he came up with. This is his writing. And yeah, there are a lot of like grammatical mistakes. I gave him tons of like notes and everything. But like it doesn't matter. He followed it through, and then all he needs is just a little bit of advice afterwards, and then he goes back to it and he does it again. And yes, it sounds like a very grueling process, but trust me, it's so much better, and it helps you so much more to get yourself into the mood, start writing, churn out all these ideas. I would not as much recommend with a fresh start. I would usually always just do track changes on mine, and then when I make it like, oh, version 2, okay, now it's version 3. I think there's something in version 2 I liked, and now I put it back in version 4.
Yeah, don't worry.
So, yeah.
Don't worry about how many versions you did. I'll tell
exactly.
you. Yeah, for my first like article I wrote last year with my supervisor, he checked that for me for 13 times. Yeah, so I had 13 versions for just one assignment. Yeah, so don't worry how many versions you change, but you will get, I think, the final one really perfect or perfect for yourself. Yeah.
I won't say perfect. There was a point where I was doing Alicia's work, which hopefully she doesn't hear this from me, but I was finishing our final assignment, and then I was writing it so much that I gave in literally 2 days early because I was so tired of reading my writing of the same thing over and over again. And I realized, you know what, if I change anything now, it's going to break the construct, and I have to do so much more work just to get back up to it. But that was already up to, I think, like 30 different drafts. So definitely always try to do it, give it your best, at least start somewhere first and then go from there. Yeah.
Yes, and don't fall into self-criticism. If you think you're not doing perfect for any word, just try your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you hear that, Vivian?
If you notice yourself being harsh to yourself or being really critical, I do that in my head all the time. I guess sometimes you just need to be more mindful about your thought. You can think of you as a friend and think about what you would say to a friend if you were not yourself. You know what I mean? Say, today I'm saying to myself, oh, I didn't finish my reading. I'm a rubbish. I couldn't finish what I had planned. But think about what you would say to your friend if they didn't finish a reading. You might say, oh, you might be really tired today. Maybe you can do it tomorrow. Or it's not that big a deal. You can still try harder tomorrow. And sometimes you just need to take a break. Think about how you would talk to your friends. If you found that you're being really self-critical.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good one.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And just a really last thing to add on to be kind to yourself is like, for me, I have actually bought like some self-care cards because it was actually on sale. But I got some self-care cards, and these are just from Kiki.k. But basically, like, I just pick any one card at random. You can pick it at any time. Like, you could do one a month, one a week, one a day, whatever. But like, for example, it gives you some positive, like, quotes. It says, remember, if today was tough, tomorrow is a new day. So there's a lot of different positive ways that you could think, just to help you get through, But yeah, definitely. Sorry, it's okay.
Keep on going. Sorry.
Just really quickly, just adding on, like, what I also do is just doing meditation, yoga, just to wind down or refresh myself. And just stay away from all like the negative thoughts. You allow yourself to have negative thoughts. Don't completely like just turn a blind eye to them, because that's not going to solve the problem. But yeah, definitely, like, you could confront them, but in the same time not being so harsh to yourself that you're just going to overwhelm yourself. So yeah, be kind. And Vivi, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I resonate with you with the quotation cards. I also have those cards. And sometimes I find it really helpful that if I'm really feeling really stressed, I guess I'll pick a card and then I'll write down what's on that card. You know, when you're writing down, it actually makes a difference comparing with just looking at it. And yeah, just try to just to use different strategies and to be kind to yourself. And that's really important. But I guess it's also really difficult.
It is very different.
Yes, I think
I
there's
agree.
one point I can add is don't labeling things. For example, you're feeling, it's like you think you're feeling not good that day. Just accept the state you are. Telling yourself, yes, I'm not feeling okay. So what? I'm not going to die, or I'm not going to fall into some kinds of disasters. It's just okay, because we all have emotion. We have our positive or negative emotion. Just accept the state you're in. I know it's hard. It's hard for everyone. But yeah, sometimes think about it. It's
Yeah.
also helpful.
Paul was saying that too. I was really confused with the special project stuff. And he was the first thing he said to me was like, at least you know that you're not alone and everyone has the same problem. So yeah, so don't ever feel that you're alone in this. I think that's a really good takeaway from him.
Yeah.
Paul's like our our most, a serious speaker. So we're really looking forward to him on our first session. Yeah, okay, I think we're pretty much doing the to death now at this point. We're gonna have to move on. We've been talking about kind to yourself for the past 20 minutes.
That's so funny. Anyway, let's move on. So we did talk about being open-minded, respectful. Anyone like to add on?
Yeah, I think I would like to add on regarding number one, to speak English in your breakout rooms. I have a couple times where I have seen people speaking in Chinese, which is fine. It's all good. I know that you're not that comfortable with speaking English, or you're a little bit worried about the English skill or whatever. But it's like, number one, even if you're all even if you're all Chinese, the professors do come in at times, and if they're gonna be really weirded out if you start speaking in Chinese as well. And then she's gonna be like, wait, what's going on here? And number two, if you're in when you're participating and stuff, and then you speak in Chinese and then other people don't understand you, then it doesn't help the situation, right? Like, it happened already a couple times in some of our breakout rooms, and because it's supposed to be sharing your experiences, it's supposed to be brainstorming or discussing about ideas, but you should also be open-minded to the fact that there are people who do not speak the language, but they also want to hear about your ideas, and they also want to share about their ideas too. So yeah, which brings nicely to our second point, which is that each person have their own cultures, their own histories. And number one, try not to step on their toes. And number two, to just remember that everyone is free to believe in their own perspectives. I mean, even if you don't agree with them, having an open mind really does help you inspire to have new ideas, which is something I did this week with Dr. Min Kang. Yep, I think I'm done with the, yeah, for open-minded. I think we can jump to, anyone else wants to add to open-mindedness and respectful? No? Okay, cool. I think we can jump to study environment, which mine is very messy right now.
Okay, so I think for study environment, the most important thing is to try to find an environment that is very suitable for you. I think everyone has pretty different learning style. So for example, for me, I really prefer to study at home rather than going out. I tried to go out several times to Starbucks with my friend, for example, but it's too crowded and we just can't stop talking. Yeah, So I prefer to study just at home. So, and the first thing I think I do every day is to make a cup of coffee because I'm a coffee lover. And then I'll clean my desk. So remove all these things which are considered as distracted, for example, my phone. And so I will always turn on the night mode when I was doing my work, because in case there are some kinds of notification on my phone and I just can't stop checking it. Yeah. Then I think I'll open my schedule and I'll start the day. So this is kind of my study hobby. What about you guys?
I'm so different. I'm 100% the opposite of Helen. I literally cannot study at home because like I feel like there's a lot of distractions and that there's minimal amount of noise and stuff. So like I think there was a research that says about finding the right amount of noise or music that can help you to concentrate. But anyways, that's besides the point. I like public places because I like the fact that there is a possibility of being watched. I have that like little mild anxiety, so I like to work hard while I'm being watched for some reason. I don't like having a lot of temptations. So for me, it's like working in a coffee shop, having some people there, taking very short breaks, maybe like just drinking something, having a bite to eat, going to the washroom. That helps me to be very effective when it comes to like studying and stuff. It also really helps for a change of pace. For example, I would wake up at like 9 just because I don't have to do work sometimes. And then I'd study in the morning at home, and then I'd literally leave in the afternoons just so that I can, go to a coffee shop and keep my study pace going. I think what Helen and I are trying to say is basically to find the right place for you. Each person have their own preferences. And I guess the big takeaway is to find a place which isn't too noisy, it isn't too crowded, there's not a lot of distractions, and obviously to have the right amount of plugs for your laptop.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe I'll just quickly add on to that, managing a study environment. For me, I am sort of a mix of both. I'm quite flexible with working anywhere, just because I can sort of block out the noise, but it really depends on my mood as well, I guess. And and definitely take into consideration when you're studying outside, like the time that you're studying, if it's really crowded there, or if it's like, if you estimate if there are available spaces. So anyone else, Vivian, would you like to add anything?
So I used to really like to study in the library or in a cafe, but now because we're in lockdown, I have no choice but to stay at home. So one thing I found really helpful is, I guess, to have a ritual or a routine. And sometimes I think music is really important. I guess some people like to study when it's quiet. Some people like to have some noise. For me, I have been using a list of music to study to. It's a playlist on Spotify, and I have been listening to the same playlist for the whole semester last semester. And now I kind of have a habit. So every time I hear any song from that playlist, I will get into the mood for study, which, just like Nick has said, is lo-fi study music, which is really popular. You can get different playlists, but I do recommend you to use the same playlist every time, because I guess at the beginning you won't notice any difference, but as you get used to it, I don't know, it's kind of magical. Like yesterday I was a bit unproductive. I was doing a Zoom study session with Phoebe, but then I start playing the music from the playlist, and gradually I get into the mood for study, and then I become really productive. So
actually, like virtual study sessions are not too bad at all. It just really depends who you're studying with, I guess. So
I'm sorry that I'm distracting.
No, I don't think you're distracting at all. Cough, cough. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think virtual study sessions are possible if you sort of kindly, I guess, tell each other, or just say like, oh, I really want to focus on my work or something like that. Or even just like have your I'm away button displayed on the Zoom for the icon thing to say that, you want to focus. I'm sure like others will understand. And if they don't, then maybe reconsider studying with them.
At times I like to study with people, but there are times where I'm like, I know I'm going to be easily distracted. That's when I have to study by myself. So yeah, that happens quite often. Just as a fun story for about studying music, my girlfriend was giving me crap the other day. She's like, you're such a psychopath. You listen to soundtracks and like music without any singing. And I'm like, how is that a bad thing? And for the rest of the
my music is so cool. Like, it's actually really how you say it, like it's so nice to listen to while you're studying.
I don't know. Like she likes to listen to musicals. I know like Vivian and a lot of other people like to listen to like lo-fi study music and stuff like that. But for me, like I listen to like Dr. Robot soundtracks. Like that's like she's like, you're such a weird psychopath who likes to listen to these weird things while you're studying. I'm like, I don't know. I like just, the beats and that's it. So yeah, it's very interesting. I like to be in my own world at times. So yeah. That's just how it is sometimes. Yeah, I think it's just about trying out different things, trying out different places, and then finding the right place, which is exactly what we're trying to say here.
Like everyone has their own preference, so it doesn't matter what music, as long as you can study to, then that's fine.
There was literally a time where we had, I think there was a week last semester, I think it was like week 11, where we had like our last couple seminars. And I literally had the same song playing over and over, even when there was a lecture going on. Like I just played in the background. I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I'm really demotivated. I really need something to keep me going. And I just had the same song going and going and going. It didn't matter who it is. It didn't matter if I was in the class. It didn't matter if I was asking questions. That was just what I did. Yeah. So if you hear me humming in class, you'll know that I'm just listening to music as well.
I want to share more about my playlist. So I talk about the study time that I usually use, but I also listen to other playlists. So this one is really, I don't know, magical. Like I feel like when I'm playing songs from this playlist, I feel like my brain is, I don't know, it's hard to say. Anyway, sometimes I even listen to Big Bang and it's really funny. I guess it really depends on the mood. And yeah, and sometimes I also listen to classical music. But I have one not secret, but one, I guess it's like a cure, a medicine, a special thing. So if I'm really, really unmotivated and really unproductive, this playlist works for me. This is the playlist I created. It's for myself. So for other playlists, sometimes say if today I'm so unproductive, I just don't want to study, but I have to do something, I'll use this playlist because I have been using this playlist for a very long time. I think it was, 2017. So I've been using it since 2017. And if I'm really unproductive, I can just play this music because, I think if you associate music with studying, it actually works really well.
I know some people, I do know some people who have trouble focusing while they play music. But again, that's just, everyone's different. Yeah. I also have like,
I think it's just me. Yeah. I don't like listening to music when I was, but it depends. For example, when I was like practicing presentation, I actually like listening to some music, but when I was writing, no, definitely I don't want music.
Yeah, I think it's a preference thing. I don't like listening to music with words or lyrics, but even when it comes to certain times, like I think it's certain activities when it comes to academics, like when I'm writing, I turn it off at times when I don't know what I'm about to write, so I can think properly, and then I turn it back on when I'm like, I know I'm gonna write now. It's just all about like rewording and then like citations. Like, okay, I can definitely do this with music on.
That's me. Yeah, the same here.
Yeah, so I think like having a clear mind is also very important. But if you really need that motivation, if you need something, don't do drugs, do music.
Yes. But yes, music is a very nice thing.
Yeah, just find the way which is suitable for yourself is the key point we want to make here, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right, our next podcast will be on coursework and masters versus research masters. What are the pros and cons of each? We're also going to be talking about dissertations versus special projects. What is the difference? This is a big question for us and for me when I first came in, because it took me half half a year to realize what the difference was.
Yeah, me too.
And and what we need to know about going to PhD, what about grants and stuff like that. And finally, we will try to embark on some exam and assignment advice. So hopefully you guys stay tuned. We do want to say that we will not be posting our seminar 3. We'll be posting a podcast for it, but we're not going to record it. So if you want to join us and you want to hear Dr. Paul, be sure to come instead of expecting us to record it.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, we will try our best to go over some of his points. But honestly speaking, Dr. Paul is such a great professor that I'm pretty sure every one of us here would rather you be there and would rather recommend you to listen to him instead of, just hear from us, Yeah.
Yeah. And that ends our podcast, I think.
Yeah, see you in our next podcast, next seminar.
Yeah, hopefully see you guys in our next seminar.